Welcome to Competitive Crunch. This is a show which is not quite bite-sized, hence the crunch. It is more powerful and super effective. My name is Spade, and that was my random introduction of this new series where I'm going to be talking about Pokemon X and Y, but about the story mode. Personally, I think it started out like really well. It was a really smooth start. The ball got rolling real fast in the game. You got your starter, you had your little starting story, and then later on you met the professor, and then you got your other starter from Generation 1, and it was a really cool, nostalgic thing for Nintendo to do and Game Freak to include those Generation 1 starters, since you now had a transition to 3D, and then, you know, still kind of a little nod to the first generation. And as a Pokemon fan, I've been a Pokemon fan since the first generation, it was definitely, I appreciated that to experience and have those Generation 1 starters again. But anyways, talking about the story itself, like in general, like Pokemon games, they haven't really had the greatest storylines like ever. It's always kind of like the same thing. You got the evil villainous team, you know, trying to do something evil, conquering the world and stealing Pokemon and such things. And this was really like no different. There were some deeper parts in the later parts of the game, like the Lysandre. He had his vision of the beautiful world, and then later on he was talking about the world being overpopulated, and it kind of got deep on that aspect. But then there were these kind of like side stories. First one being like the Mega Evolution story. I really like that, you know, Professor Sycamore sending you out to figure out this mystery of the Mega Evolution and how it works out. And then you finally got your Mega Evolution Stone, and you were able to evolve that starter Pokemon, for example. And then you got that Lucario. It was the Tower of Mastery where you got to do that. I think it was a really interesting kind of like a sideline. And then later on, you know, the other trainers had their Mega Evolutions. Your rival eventually got hers, and also Lysandre had found a way to get that Mega Evolution. So it kind of tied down to the main storyline of the game, which was pretty awesome. And then there was, of course, this story with that old man, which I definitely like, but I think they could have done like so much more, because it was kind of like a really short build-up. Like first you saw him at like the desert area, I believe, like near the power plant or whatever. You saw this mysterious old man, and then later on he was just captured by Lysandre and his minions of Team Flare. And then there was the story about him and about the old war 3,000 years ago and how that went. I think they could have definitely like build that up more, like maybe have that mysterious old man like help you out at one of the earlier parts with the Team Flare, and then tell the story, and then have like a bigger build up for it. But then, like, yeah, that's how it pretty much went. You saw that mysterious guy, you didn't really know who he was, because you just saw him once, and then the next thing you know, he's kind of like locked in, and then there's the huge storyline that he's like, actually, well, they kind of hint towards that he's the guy who ended the war 3,000 years ago and revived his Pokemon. But that part of the story was I definitely enjoyed it. It was really deep, and you had the touching piano music. It was a really touching scene when his Floette died, and you know he wanted to revive it, but then he had anger in his heart, and he turned that machine into a weapon in order to end the world. And then the Floette who he revived left him because, you know, he had kind of turned heel and turned evil. So then the man got sad, and then he was wandering for 3,000 years. But then in the end, you know, with the battle with the main character kind of just made that anger go away, and he became the trainer that he used to be. And then Floette returned, and was a happy ending. But seriously, like, they could have done like so much more, like have that guy appear more times in the story. But then again, you know, this is a Pokemon game directed towards children, and you know, it's a text-based game with a lot of reading, so I guess there's really no point on that aspect to make a real deep story lines, you know. with these kind of games. I guess that's the biggest reason why Pokemon game stories are always so simple, because you know it's still directed towards children, although Pokemon does have that deeper side too, and especially for me and a lot of other competitive players, there is this competitive side which I personally like. But the last point being about the main story, I think that would have been they could have done so much more with the old guy story and had better build up for it, because now it was just kind of thrown at your face, everything at the same time, the war and then the ultimate weapon that the Lysandre was rebuilding, or kind of just, I don't know how it exactly went, but I guess he kind of just rebuilt or found the old ultimate weapon so he could use to do his evil biddings and destroy the world and all those evil things that all the evil teams in Pokemon pretty much do. But I think too much stuff was thrown at you at one time instead of a long-term build-up, and that's definitely something that I would have personally liked to see from the story. And in the after game, you had those Looker chapters. Looker, that person who I think was first introduced, was it in Pokemon Platinum? But I think that was a little nice extra, because you know it's always nice that there's some sort of story mode still continuing in the after game. So that was pretty cool. Didn't think really much of those. I still haven't played all of them, but like they're kind of meh. I don't really care about the after game too much. I just want to get to the competitive side. But the point being, it's still nice that there is still something to do storyline wise in the game after you have beaten the main in-game story and become the champion of the world and everything. But I think that's all I really have to say about the in-game. So I guess in a nutshell, the story mode, it was kind of like a generic Pokemon story, like nothing really revolutionary. It had its moment with the old man, but I think it still could have been, you know, dragged out way more to be a deeper and better story-wise. But it was, I gotta give them that it was the in-game experience. It was kind of lengthy. It took me a while to beat the in-game, so there was a lot of stuff to do. And with the after-game chapters, with the Looker, you know, there is a lot of stuff to be done in the single player, which is definitely nice. As a kid, I really enjoyed the in-game story, and I kind of feel like there hasn't been like a great lengthy adventure after Pokemon Gold and Silver, because I still kind of feel like that was the best in-game experience, simply because it had 16 badges, so much stuff to do in the single player game, especially back when I was a kid and you didn't have Wi-Fi. You could only do like link cable battles, so it was kind of inconvenient back then, and back then story mode was all you had. So on that regard, I really highly regard the Gold and Silver story, because it was so long. But this story of Pokemon X and Y, it was also pretty darn long, and there's lots of stuff to be done in the after game, which is definitely a nice thing. But now to wrap things up a bit on the more competitive side, since we kind of wrapped up the in-game story shenanigans, and in the competitive side, there are a lot of new nice features for us competitive players, because at the moment, at least, there is no way to Pokesolve or you know, cheat Pokemon into the games as easily as you could have done in the past. Well, you simply cannot do that. There's no Pokesolve, there's no Pokegen, nothing that you could use to generate your Pokemon. So you have to play these games legit. And what has been really annoying in the past is that they have made the Pokemon games so inconvenient to be played legitimately when it comes to the competitive battling. Because when it comes to something like IV breeding, you know, it's so much based on luck. But in Generation 6, in Pokemon X and Y, they have some new tools. And when it comes to breeding, there's a new, or I don't know if it's an old item, but at least it has been upgraded to give you pass down 5 IVs from your parents, and that item is called Destiny Knot. And indeed, it passes down when you have one of your parent Pokemon holding it in the daycare. It will pass down 5 IVs from both of the parents, not just the holder, from both of the parents. So it will pass down all together, you know, your parents all together, they have 12 IVs from each stat. So from those 12 stats, it will pass down 5 down to the baby Pokemon that will be hatched from the egg, and that makes IV breeding so much more convenient, especially since we are just now getting started, but eventually we will have better and better Pokemon. So once we get to a point where every Pokemon that we have has you know, perfect IVs, we can use Destiny Knot to pass down 5 of those perfect IVs to create, you know, more perfect IV bred Pokemon, and that makes things so much more convenient. And also now for the first time they are making EVs visible with the super training system, which is definitely a nice way to train your Pokemon, although there is still a better way, but I'll talk about that just in a moment. But super training, it does finally make EVs, aka effort values, visible in the game. That's something that hasn't been done in the past, and something that could have been done, but now it is finally in the game, and they have made this super training as a way for the casual fans to get into it, because the EV training is something like really strange, at least to understand at first. But talking now, yeah, so yeah, in my opinion, the super training is definitely a nice thing. But now going back to the whole Horde Battle EV training system, which is now in the game. Because yeah, now with the Horde Battles, you usually encounter 5 of the same Pokemon. So when you get, if you, let's say you got like some first stage Pokemon that you are facing, like some random Wingulls, for example. I think there's a horde of Wingulls around somewhere. So I don't remember if they actually give you like speed EVs, but each one of them will give you like 1 speed EV. And then if you have a power item, you get +4 to that specific stat. And then if you have Pokerus, you have that ×2, so you have like 10. So per 1 Horde Battle, you get like 50 EVs. And then with the experience share, you can share that experience with all the other Pokemon. But I guess the only downside is that you have to have those power items on those other Pokemon too. So it's gonna take quite some time to get like about like 20 power items from the Battle-Mycin, because they are relatively expensive. Like they cost around, I believe, 48 points, battle points from the Battle-Mycin. But once time just goes by and we are able to grind our Pokemon and do more of Battle-Mycin, get more experience from there, get more battle points, get more power items, and get battle items to all of our Pokemon. That's gonna make the EV training so simple. 50 EVs from 1 single battle. That is incredible compared to the old system, which was, it's just EV training, like it just took, you know, yeah, that's the thing. EV training was the easy part, but then it was the IV breeding that was kind of just based on luck. But now with the Destiny Knot, and now with the Horde Battles, and even the super training to start with, you know, you have much better ways to go around playing Pokemon competitively, and that's definitely a nice change to the game. And you know, Nintendo was going crazy about the whole thing that people are cheating in their games, and they didn't want that. But one of the main reasons people were cheating was because their games are so freaking inconvenient to play. To get a good Pokemon is a lot just based on luck, but now there are better systems with the Destiny Knot and the super fast Horde Battle training and the super training to get more casual fans into it. So that's a really nice thing that they did in Generation 6, and I really enjoy it. And EV training and IV breeding actually isn't that bad now, and I don't really miss Pokestop that much, because the system has been updated and made so much better than it has been in the past. And also now in Generation 6 you have a level equalizer, taking that it is only to level 50, but still you have this level equalizer, which is great, because in my opinion in Generation 5 that was really a slap in the face for all the people who were playing and breeding and IV breeding, EV training their Pokemon legitimately in the games. That was really a slap in the face, because you couldn't have level equalizer. So in Generation 5, on top of doing all the inconvenient IV breeding, which would take ages, and then EV training your Pokemon by knocking out a bunch of Magikarps, on top of that, you would have to train all your Pokemon to level 100 in order to use them in Wi-Fi battles, and that was just really stupid. They didn't have a level equalizer in Generation 5, but now it is back. There was one in Generation 4, don't know why they took it away for Generation 5, only to make things more difficult, and then like that Gen 5 was, on that aspect, it was a real mess that they took it away. But now it's back in Generation 6 at level 50, which kind of changes actual things, because now that you're not able to fully train your Pokemon to level 100, you know, IVs and EVs are not so significant. They are the key of everything, but they are slightly, I guess, less significant, and it's gonna change a few things, like the speed tiers are kind of now a bit different, and also, like, I guess Seismic Toss is in a way kind of nerfed, in a sense that Pokemon, I believe it is with base 97 HP, if you are already able to make like 51 HP subs that Seismic Toss cannot break, and little things like that. And I think the damage calculations are going to be going a bit differently, as opposed to level 100, where every stat is absolutely maxed out. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see how everything is going to be working out at level 50 Wi-Fi battles instead of level 100, because that's level 50 is now kind of like the new standard of Wi-Fi battles. So that is definitely interesting to see. But what else did I have? Yeah, I guess going back to the whole IV system still, I mentioned the Friend Safari, and that is definitely a nice place, because over at the Friend Safari you are able to capture Pokemon that are guaranteed to have 2 perfect IVs. That's right, 2 perfect IVs. So that is when you think about it, you're starting out your IV breeding. Where in the world am I going to start? Where in the world am I going to get those perfect IVs to begin with, so I can start, you know, IV breeding them with Destiny Knot and everything? A good place to start would be the Friend Safari. And also you can find Dittos there, although, well, I guess everything is kind of based on luck. And if you happen to know a friend code that has a friend of yours who has a friend code that has a Ditto Safari, definitely go and get it, because Ditto is, you know, the ultimate breeder Pokemon. That's definitely something that you want to have. In fact, on Facebook, gotta say, people have been really nice. It's been really nice to have some interaction going on my Facebook page with some of you people, and I've been trading their friend codes over there, and it took me 98 people in order to get a Ditto Safari. Out of 98 people I added, it was finally number 98 that gave me the Ditto Safari, which was amazing. And besides that, you know, in those 98 people, I have gotten some wonderful Friend Safaris, gotten some hidden abilities there. That's also another thing about the Friend Safari. You are able to capture Pokemon with their hidden abilities there, not to mention those 31 IVs again. And that is definitely a place where you can start doing that IV breeding and capture Pokemon that have those perfect IVs. And on that same town, Kilotis City, you have the guy in the Pokemon Center in the purple suit who is going to tell which of those stats are perfect. It's going to tell your Pokemon's best IVs. And when you capture a Pokemon from the Friend Safari and you go talk to that person, you show him that captured Pokemon, he will tell which of those two stats have perfect IVs, and then you will have an idea where to go with IV breeding. And gotta say, that is definitely another wonderful feature, having that guy over there telling those IVs in a better way. I don't know, I don't really remember how that went in Pokemon Black and White, but definitely a nice thing that the IV telling guy is over there. And also, on some rare instances, you can capture a Pokemon with 3 perfect IVs from the Friend Safari. I've had that happen only like a couple times out of, like, I don't know how many Pokemon I have captured from there, like 50 around perhaps, but only like a couple out of those have had 3 perfect IVs, but that is possible. And talking about 3 perfect IVs, it has been now changed so that the legendary Pokemon that you can capture from the wild have now guaranteed to have 3 perfect IVs. And in the past, if you wanted to have a good legendary Pokemon that only appears once in a game, if you want to have that thing with perfect IVs, you have to do, like, it's completely based on luck. There's no way around it. You have to do a bunch of soft resetting like 100 million times if you want to have that good IV'd legendary Pokemon. But now it is so much better, since the 3 of the stats have been turned to be guaranteed to be perfect. So, for example, let's say you want that timid Yveltal. You're of course going to have that synchronized Pokemon with timid nature, so it will guarantee to pass down the timid nature to that Yveltal. And after that, you can just go and capture that Yveltal, and then look at which stats are the best. Or I guess Yveltal wouldn't be the best example, because it's still in the in-game where you don't have access to the IV telling guy. But, you know, still the point remains. And of course, if you know what the actual base stats of the Yveltal are, you are able to figure out yourself what the perfect IVs are. Once you get more into the IV system, of course you can tell what are the best IVs yourself if you can compare them to the actual base stats and the IVs. But that is definitely nice. You don't have to do a million hours of soft resetting with the legendaries to actually get a good legendary Pokemon with good IVs. Now it is a lot easier compared to the past, and that is definitely nice. Altogether, the competitive system in Pokemon X and Y has been made so much better, and I could not be happier. I don't really miss Pokestop that much, like I already mentioned. But yeah, now I've been rambling for like almost 40 minutes. I wasn't really hoping to make this so long, but I guess it will be kind of like a one-man podcast kind of thing, where I ended up kind of just rambling about things. But yeah, I think now I have definitely rambled about everything. I had this notebook here with a list of things that I wanted to talk about, and it kind of ended up dragging out a bit too much that I was maybe hoping for. But there's just so many things that I want to say about Pokemon X and Y. Wonderful games overall. Really nice transition to 3D, and all sorts of new mechanics in the competitive side to make it so much better than the past games have been. And overall, it was the in-game experience. You know, it was nice witnessing everything in 3D for the first time. The 3D models in battles and all the new move animations in 3D and everything. A wonderful experience. But on that note, I would kind of like to end this first episode. Hopefully some of you actually listened and perhaps like this episode of me rambling about random things. And in the future I would like to have more like specific topics, because now I just kind of skim through to all sorts of new features that Pokemon X and Y have to offer. And in the future I would kind of like to talk about a bit more like specific topics, such as like Mega Evolutions and like new abilities and some new items, and perhaps some specific Pokemon, and IV breeding and EV training in more specific, and stuff like that. I think it could be a lot of fun. And yeah, I definitely don't want to really drag this out too long, but hopefully you enjoyed. I don't know, I kind of felt like nervous doing this. I don't know, I haven't really done anything like this like in the past, really, like a solo talk show. So I do really hope you enjoyed this, and certainly if you have some topics that you would like to have me discuss in the future, let me know. But those that I just mentioned are just a few that I could talk about. So if you have more ideas, if you like this show, let me know in the comment section below, and let's definitely continue the discussion in the comment section below. I would kind of like to have this as kind of a whatchamacallit, kind of like a interactive talk show with you people in the comment section below. But yeah, on this note, definitely gonna be ending this episode. So thank you so much for watching. And until next time, this is the Flaming Spade signing out.